Now back with Currently in Progress, Episode 8. Our guest today is Coach Welsh. Coach Welsh is the strength and conditioning coach at Central Michigan University. I got the opportunity to work with him during my internship there. Honestly, never thought he'd do a podcast with me, but I saw him at Dunham's, and he asked me what I've been up to, and I kind of hinted at it. And then I said, it'd be really cool to have you on. And he said, you shoot me the details and we'll make something happen. Little did I know, he would be able to take the time out of a busy game week to have almost a 2-hour podcast with me, which was freaking awesome. So here it is. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so here we go. First thing I wanted to say though is thanks for doing this.
Hell yeah, man!
Because that was cool.
I
saw you at Dunham's, and I was just putting freight away, and I saw you standing there, and then I could see you out of the corner of your eye, looking at me, like you knew I was staring at you. And
I didn't know who it was for a second. This guy looks really familiar. I'm like, wait a second, this is Nate. No.
Yeah, I knew it'd be fun. I've always expected to see more and more Central people at Dunham's.
Yep.
Because I see head coach there, on occasion, more often than not. It's kind of, and then I see who's the offensive coordinator now.
Coach Barber.
I see him there all the time too.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a small town. You're gonna see the one sporting goods store. So just to start things off, I want to talk about how we know each other.
Yep.
Being the fact that I just interned for you during COVID in the strength and conditioning world, and how it was and everything, just being weird, being one of the things that I really liked and I thought was actually way weirder than anything was working out outside.
Yeah.
That was
it's different.
Yeah, it was definitely different.
It's different. It was you look at what 2020 was and what the whole COVID scenario was in the field of training and athletics. The one word I want to use is the word adapt, right?
Yeah.
We had to adapt to everything. At the end of the day, we have to produce a service to the kids, especially, during that time. You kind of go backwards, 2020. Wow, here we are. It's the wave of emotions, right? Mm-hmm. We just got finished up with the summer. And then all of a sudden, word starts coming down the pipe of there's no season.
Yeah.
Right? And it's okay. But the show has to go on. The kids are here. You still got to continue to train. And then all of a sudden, it changes. Yep, there's a season.
Yeah.
We're going to start in, 3 or 4 weeks. Okay. So
it
was so different, right? But it forced all of us to adapt. It forced all of us, to get out of our comfort zone. And when you look at that, when you talk about adapting and evolving, that's all part of growth and adversity. So for us and our kids, it's funny because when I was driving in today and I was looking at the time and I was looking at it was pretty dark outside still compared to the summertime, and I kind of flashed back to last summer and I'm like, wait a second, man, we were setting up in the concourse of the stadium. It was 6:30 and it was still dark out, and we're, getting the tarp off the dumbbell racks, getting the barbells out the closet, moving everything, spraying everything down. But I tell you what, that's a time that I'm never going to forget.
Yeah.
That will stick with me, to the end of my days in this profession, just from things that you have to do in order to get the job done. And when you really look back on it, I really feel and believe that time really grew us, not just as coaches, but as an organization, as people, because it really forced all of us to get out of our comfort zone.
Yeah, and you had to stick together, and you had to just work together to get the process done, because we're all here to do the same thing.
Yep.
No matter how early it was or how early it seemed to be, just because it was so dark out every morning and everything. Another thing I wanted to bring up too was, and it was cool it wasn't cool in the time just because I messed up, but it was funny the way you handled it both times, because I messed up twice.
Okay.
But
see if I remember this.
The time I took your keys, that was, I tell you what, it was I was texting T-Mac.
Yeah.
And T-Mac was just he texted me, he's like, dude, you're screwed. And I'm like, he's texted that, and I literally, like, as that happened, I was, like, at home changing.
Yeah.
And I took my pants off, and boom, I hear, like, keys jingling. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, because I know where my keys are. I don't know whose keys those are.
Yeah.
But no, it was crazy because he was texting me. He's like, hey, well, I guess you're going to have to show up at this time in the morning. And I'm like, okay, well, there's no arguing. Like, I got to be there to open, you know. It was a funny situation.
Yeah, I remember because we were the T-Mac, the intern, and it was funny because I'm like, well, that's my keys. I'm driving crazy, and John, who was at the time here, was now in Arkansas State. I was like, John, do you have my keys? Like, no. I'm like, Tyler, you have my keys? Like, no. I'm like, freaking naked, nigga. Yeah. Like, tell you what, man, you got to get your buddy here before us, any of us, the next day. You did it, man. So you know what, you won brownie points that day. So
I mean, I was hoping I did because I can't mess up the internship. And then the other time, because that time you actually had to, like, we actually talked about it. You know, I showed up at 4:30 and it was kind of obvious, like, you know, here's your keys. Like, we had that talk. The other time was when my phone went off at the most stupid possible time while you were instructing right before the weight room session. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that one. I don't.
Oh, good. Well, maybe you were so mad that you just blanked it out. And it was nuts because out of all the time during the weightlifting session it could have been, it was the 3 minutes of instruction that you give right before, no music, no nothing. And I tell you what, we're both not the tallest guys, and we're in a group full of college athletes, and for some reason, somehow, I was in the very back, you were in the very front. My phone went off, and I looked up, and you were staring at me dead in the eye. And I was like, how can he even see me right now?
You know, as part of the journey, man. It's, you know, and I've got to remember that. I don't remember that one, but that's part of the that's part of the journey, you know. And it's I mean, gosh, you know, I can't go back to when I was an intern, you know, and coming up in the profession, and just like little mistakes, like, hey, you know what, you're setting up a drill and it's maybe a 5-yard drill and you set the cone up to 4, you know, like little things, and you don't realize how down the road, you know, can you learn from a mistake and can you get better with it? And in this field, it's all about response, right? And here you are, I mean, you're a young intern coming into the profession, you know, learning and growing, and you know what? Oh shoot, I got coach's keys. You know what? I'm gonna be the first guy in the next day. That's response, and that's growth, and that's what we look for in the traits that, you know, we want to develop. And those are the characteristics now that, end of the day, it's like, okay, can you trust this person? Absolutely. And after that, it's like, you know, I trust Nate. I don't. There's not a second thought in my head. Like, I don't trust the guy. Like, I trust him. Like, he came in the next day, high character guy, showed up, brought the keys, was here wicked early, and no drama, right? So those are the things that were really cool. You know? But I don't, you know, I tell you what though, me seeing you, I can see that happening, like phone and like that. Oh yeah, I could definitely.
Yeah, because I looked right at you, and it was just like
You should never have looked at me.
Yeah. Well, that's what was funny too, because obviously, I mean, you're just saying you don't remember it, but like, you never talked to me about it, and both Tyler and John came up to me. Well, John did it funny. He just looked at me. He's like, "Hey, where's your phone at?" And I was like, "Well, it's in the office now." He's like, "Good spot for it." I was like, "Cool." And then Tyler just comes up to me. And he's like, "I heard you had an incident." I was
this is phone out. He already knows.
Like because we were here and we went to the outdoor practice, and Tyler always shows up there. So I was like, and he literally, like, first thing he did, and when he saw me, he just started laughing. I'm like, okay, John already told him.
That's what it's about, man. Can you laugh it off, and you know, it's water underneath the bridge. And and the great thing is, okay, something like that happens. Okay, it is what it is. You know, you go right back to work and handle the business. And those are the huge lessons, right? You did that, so I mean. Yeah, I mean, never look at me.
That's what you got to do. I mean, no, that was definitely one of the funnier times here. So what else I want to get into is like how you started your like getting into the field, like strength conditioning field. Like, what did you do at the very beginning, like personal training, or how did that whole story go?
Yeah, you know, I started out. Trying to go back here. I started out when I was at Queens College, my undergrad. And at the time, one of the things, kind of go backwards there, when we do our internship curriculum and we meet and sit down for our interns the first time, we kind of look at background, like where you're from, hometown, how old you are, all that stuff. And one of the questions we always ask our interns is, what's one of your first jobs? Reason being because they can kind of give you a snapshot into their background, kind of the backbone. And one of the first jobs that I worked coming up was Burger King. I worked at for like 3.5 years in the kitchen, prep, all that stuff. After I worked at Burger King, I worked at Little Caesars Pizzeria.
Yeah.
And I was working at Little Caesars. So I was at Queens College. I was, working at Little Caesars, doing all this other stuff. And I knew I wanted to get into strength conditioning. I knew it. I was young, but I was trying. I gave myself every excuse in a world of why, I couldn't get in the profession at that particular time. I just didn't know. And that was my fault. And I needed to do more homework and research on it. And at our school, we had just opened up a new weight room for the student population. And they had like a certification going on. And I said, you know what? I was comfortable working at Little Caesars, right? I'm getting a decent paycheck. It's what you're comfortable with. And I said, you know what? But this is an opportunity, get out of my comfort zone right now, but do something that I have a passion for. But it's not strength conditioning, but it's in the kind of same realm. And I saw there were other guys in my class that had certifications that were as personal trainers. And I kind of looked at personal training as a way to kind of help me get into that whole realm of training and all that. So
just to see it.
Yeah, so I got a certification. And then from there I quit my job at Little Caesars and became a personal trainer at Queens College, at my alma mater. And was doing that, and that was a tremendous learning experience. And I still grab lessons from them because, and I'll kind of get into that because it taught me a lot. And it taught me a lot from the business side in terms of people business, right? Dealing with people, selling who you are, promoting your brand. Because in personal training, that's what you're doing, right? If I'm with a client and I can, get a package with them, for instance, let's say, 10, 20 lessons, that's great. But then the real question is, are they going to come back? And, sometimes in personal training, you get individuals that are highly motivated that do it because they have to do it, and those clients are with you long term. But sometimes they might be few in between, right? Because then there's other trainers out there that also have clientele. And when you start to realize as well, they'll come back to you if they kind of like you. Right? And because the consistency aspect. So that kind of helped in my progression. But long story short, it was in our school, and then our oversight, our recreations director was like, hey, our athletic trainer here, he wants to start a strength conditioning program, for all our student athletes. Would you want to help out? I'm like, hell yeah. And it was funny how life worked out. It was an opening to get into it. So I don't care. I don't want to get paid anything. I just want to get in there and help. So I did that. And then our trainer at the time said, I need to focus more on, our sport medicine. Why don't you take the majority of this? And I was like 20. I tell you what, Nate, I was probably 21 years old at the time, 2021, and I had no clue. Like, I'm still learning, growing. But here I am, 21 years old now, and I'm overseeing, an athletic department of 17 teams. A Division II school. Facilities was like a closet. It was like one rack. But the rack, it was a real old school deal. It had this huge nut bolts on there for a squat rack. It got dangerous. One old school bench, like a preacher curl bar. That's all you had. Like, don't need the dumbbells. And it was an unbelievable experience because I made every single mistake in the world. And it taught me a couple of things. It taught me, number one, you need to grow and adapt. You need to get better. You need to find ways to improve. You can't make excuses. You can't say, I don't know. Coaches need answers. You got to provide answers. Student athletes, how to deal with student athletes. I was 20, 21 years old. I'm dealing with student athletes that are 23, 24. So it's like, how do you, go into a room and then sell yourself, right? Which some lessons I got from personal training, and have some credibility amongst student athletes that are basically older than you. So it was all a growing experience for me. And again, I made every single mistake in the world, but it forced me to go learn, adapt. Like coaches like Mike Boyle, who was instrumental in my come up from learning and understanding the profession in terms of the information out there, because it was a different time now.
Yeah.
This is, I want to say, around 2006, 2007. And social media wasn't as a juggernaut as it is now. So you really had to go out there, and YouTube wasn't that
not at all
yet. So you really had to go out there and communicate and reach out and go to conferences now. But it was even so much more instrumental back then, because you're trying to find information and read, and so those lessons really shaped me tremendously. And I was there for about 3 years, and during that time I was able to hire on interns, and then eventually a full-time assistant, who I'm really good buddies with. His name is Yuki Miyazawa. He's currently the head strength conditioning coach at St. Francis College out in Brooklyn. And we just, it was the come up. It was just, learning and growing and figuring this whole thing out, how to build a weight room, how to, get stuff in, how to buy stuff, how to work with people. So that's how I broke in. And I was there for 3 years, right? And during that time, our AD came up to me and was like, hey, would you want to do your grad studies here? And we can pay for your grad school. And I was really contemplating, heck yeah, this would be awesome. But another part of me was like, you've been here for 3 years.
Do you go on to the next place?
Yeah, do you are you getting stagnant? Do you feel like, and I felt like I was getting a little bit stagnant.
Did you not stagnant in the sense of not progressing or learning, or just stagnant to you're just getting bored?
I would say a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Not so much with the bored aspect, but just in terms of you got to get out your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I felt like we were at a place, and I was young in my career, and I'm going to school there. And I was there for 3 years. I did my undergrad there. And I was like, this place is growing, it's developing, but there needs to be a challenge to get me to grow even more.
To the next place.
Yeah. So when I was doing I think it was my last semester of college, if this makes sense, I was doing strength conditioning, right? I was still, believe it or not, I was on the track team doing that as well. I was still having clients and personal training. And I also did an internship at Fordham University in my hometown, the Bronx, New York, under a guy named Ted Perlak, who was a huge mentor of mine in the profession. And it forced me to grow even more so. So I said, you know what, I need to take the next step. So I applied for grad school at Springfield College and doing research on it. Springfield College was one of the pinnacles of strength conditioning for graduate studies. One of the few master programs out there that has strength conditioning as a master's. So did my homework on it, applied, got on the waiting list, which was a journey. And then probably in the month of May, I got accepted, and I was like, screw it, let's go to work. And it was huge, and I had to get my comfort zone and do that, and that was an unbelievable experience. So that's how I kind of started off. Because after I was at Springfield College, in between my first and second year, because Division III, you can't. The kids can't stay over the summer and train.
Gotcha.
So after my first year, I did an internship at University of Iowa football. And it was funny because I remember I was at Queens College and YouTube was slowly coming up, and I just remember watching a video. And it was the Iowa football strength conditioning video. I was like, geez, man, this is awesome.
That's the next place.
I need to go there. I need to find a way to get myself there. And I just said to myself, okay, you get to Springfield when you do an intern, because you had to do an internship. Yep. You're going to find a way to get there.
That internship
at Iowa. Yeah. So I did that. I was lucky enough to, I applied in November for a summer internship, and the head guy now, Ray Braithwaite, who was the intern director at the time, was like, great for applying, thank you, but we're not taking applicants until March. But I was just that focused on getting an internship, and lucky enough to get it. And then interned that summer of, it was the summer of 2011. I interned out there, and was fortunate enough to be under those guys, Coach Doyle, Coach Braithwaite, and got hired on the following year. And from there, man, it's just been a hell of a ride.
Yeah. It's cool that you say that about, you saw a video and you're like, I want to go to Iowa.
Yeah.
And, now it's like, I'm going to Iowa. I don't care how it happens. It just happens. I did another podcast with a guy back from my own hometown, and his thing was The Price is Right.
Okay.
He told himself, he's like, I'm going to be on The Price is Right.
Yeah.
And he literally, there was a process where like his buddy said, hey, I'm going to like that area. Do you want to come with me? And he's like, okay. And just step by step, he told me exactly how he did it and how one day he set his mind to it, and then that's what was going to happen. And it was like a random thing, like you, like a YouTube video just popped in his head. It's like, that was just enough to like trigger myself to make me want to do this.
Hell yeah.
And it was kind of cool to see, like, it's cool to hear that other people obviously have that like relationship with themselves. Like, I'm going to set my mind to something and then it happens. It's nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think once you get something in your head, right, it's either you have two options. You can sit there and have it in your head and just think about it, or there's an action component, which that's the risk taking, right? That's the being uncomfortable.
Yep.
And I'm a firm believer everything in life happens for a reason. Like, what happens, in your teens will affect you in your 20s and will help you. And it goes down the line.
Oh, for sure.
And I honestly feel like, the decisions that I made earlier in my career, I'm making a transition of, I'm going to work in, a fast food place and
to personal training.
This is what you want to do.
Yeah.
Is working here really, are you really on your path to what you want to do? Mm-hmm. Make a decision, have action, and take a shot. So, and that kind of helped in down the line decisions. Yeah. That makes sense. Because
for sure.
Because you have probably a little bit more confidence in
yourself.
Yeah, right. It kind of reaffirms the belief, like, you know what, I can do
like
this.
Like, I did this once. What's the next time? Like,
Exactly.
Yeah. So then, what happened when you got to Iowa? Like, you interned, didn't you? Like, actually get a job there?
Yeah. So it was awesome because it was probably one of the most probably life-changing experiences in my life. It was an 8-week internship, and it was intense. Like, just because it was, now it's like, this is strength conditioning on that level. It is, early mornings to the max. It's getting up there early. It's, setting up, being proactive. It's for other interns, right? And all you guys as interns kind of looking at each other. It's a little bit of that competitive environment now, right? And but then you realize, you know what, let's just do the job and be on the same page. You know, and I'm really close to some of those guys who I interned with. But it was an unbelievable experience because I learned, I made mistakes, right? But you respond, you go, you attack it, and it was so awesome. And it's an experience that will never leave me because, for 8 weeks, you got no money, you're an intern in a completely different state. I was living in Massachusetts, and then you fly away to Iowa, don't know a single soul out there. You get a little, studio apartment deal, and you get nothing in the fridge except for protein shakes and a protein bar. Yeah. Because you put all your money into flying out there doing the internship, and you're just learning, you're growing every day. It's on 100 because you just want to help provide that organization with all the resources possible, which is you, right, to be successful. And unreal, and I learned so much from those guys, and was fortunate enough, to get hired on a year later there as a full-time assistant, which was awesome. Yeah.
So you packed up and left, and like how much money did you have going out there? Like, was it like
it's probably just enough to pay the rent.
Yeah. See, that's
it was
that's a decision to make though. Like, when you're that young to be like, okay, I want to intern here, but like, do I intern here and have absolutely no money and like fully invest in this, or do I go intern here, not as good, but I can live a little bit comfortable? Like,
so one of the things in this is, it goes back to earlier on in the development, right? It's doing the homework. Yeah. And one of the things I had to do was I had to be proactive and find out what the profession was about, like strength conditioning. How do you get into strength conditioning? Well, you have to do internships. Everyone's at the time, it's so infatuated with, gotta get a GA spot, get a GA spot. Yeah. Well, how do you get a GA spot? I mean, you got interns somewhere. Yeah. And when I know I was first starting out, I had sent at one time like 30 emails, 30 strength conditioning coaches, like, hey, do you have an internship? Can you give me some information about it? Not knowing, but that was my time to start figuring out this profession. Yeah. And I started figuring out, hey, do you guys offer housing? They're like, no, dude, there's no housing. Yeah. I'm like, okay, and so it's a real thing. So okay, you need to strap up. You need to put some money aside to figure out if you want to do this. And so it's kind of like the wheels are turning. You did your homework on it. You find out what you want to do. You do your homework on it. You put a plan together. Then you just attack it. And that's what kind of happened. You know, my mother supported me. Just me and my mom. And my mom supported me. She's like, support what you want to do. You know, you go out there and you go knock it out the park and go give 110%. Right. So it just those things. You know, again, it's the action part. There's this uncertainty because you don't know. But you know what? If you don't try, then
what's the point?
What's the point? So it was everything happens for a reason. So I'm a firm believer that the decisions that you make early in your career will help and guide you down the line.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. That's one of the main things when I came to do this internship. Was to figure out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because I've never been in this setting before. I've been in this setting with equipment managing.
Yeah.
I've never been in the setting for strength and conditioning, and I was like college athletics. It was always a big deal. It's a big scene. You got some of the best athletes. You got some of the best facilities. You got all the things that you need that you've ever wanted there.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a fun experience. But getting down to the root of it, I was like, I don't know if this is something I would want to do my entire life.
Yep.
I definitely love fitness and I definitely love the college setting, but I don't know, to be able to do this, first of all, to get to the high level of strength and conditioning, that alone is already a task that I wouldn't say I'm not up for, but I just didn't think that the reward was worth the journey. Because I don't want to go back to school. I'm burnt out from that, and it's just a bunch of other reasonings, but I don't know, this whole podcasting thing and just learning from people and the whole learning from you at the internship, I think was one of the biggest things too. Just reading, and like you said, it was a lot less about the exercise science, a lot less about what we were doing here technically, but why we were doing it.
Yeah.
And that was I was dude, if I can I don't care what my job is, if I find people like that to work with, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, as long as it's to the setting of I like you, you like me, we're going to have no problems getting the job done, and we're going to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And that's what I liked being here. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you talk about coaching, it's about being a teacher, being an educator. And, one of our jobs, when a kid walks in for the first time, we have to, the kid comes in, you're going to teach them, right? We're going to teach them, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to evaluate you. We're going to teach you these exercises. We're going to show you. But that's the first part of education. The second part of it, it's very different day and age, right? 2021. Everyone wants to know the why.
Yep.
So you have to be proactive. You got to explain the why. Hey, we're going to evaluate you because of this.
Yeah.
The reason we're doing these exercises is to help you with this. Because now we want to create some self-dependence with the student athlete.
Yeah.
Because now the more informed they are, they understand, well, this makes sense. All of a sudden their level of intent and their awareness
goes up.
And part of coaching is parenting. Right? We're not with these kids 24/7. The ball gets snapped. I'm not on the field with these guys. So you want to give them the tools, right? We're there to help provide them with the tools that they need to be successful. And then you would hope you would have helped them and developed them in teaching those aspects, so then their awareness heightens, right? And their level of, intrinsic motivation and drive rises even more so. That's parenting.
Yeah.
It's literally, I'm going to teach you this, I'm going to hold your hand, okay? Then you're going to show me, then I'm going to walk away.
Then you're going to do it.
You're going to do it.
Yeah.
And then guess what? Then you're going to teach someone else how to do it.
Yeah.
That's
how you learn.
That's how you learn. And that's kind of the model I think we've all come through because, why are we coaching? It goes back to the why, right? It's always the why. We talked about it too. We read all these books, right? Everyone reads all these books, right? Everyone posts online and social media. It's great. But if we can't implement what we're reading into real life, who cares how many books you're going to read, right? It's about being able to implement aspects into your daily life. And with these young people, right, they're coming in here at 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
And this is the first time a lot of them are away from home from mom or dad. First time they have to, go into a dorm. They have a level of independence. You know, they're gonna make mistakes.
Yep.
And that's okay. And it's now our job to show them, okay,
Guide them.
Mm-hmm. Right? And then the maturity aspect, everyone has a different rate of maturing.
Yeah.
You know, but I tell you this, the faster someone can figure it out, the more successful they're gonna be long term. But you also got to understand the reason we're coaching is to help our young people,
mm-hmm.
and that's part of development.
Yeah,
you know, everyone's going to need you in a different way. You know, I can have 10 guys in the weight room.
Yep.
You know, I might have 3 seniors, a couple of juniors and freshmen. They all need a different version of myself.
Yep.
You know, that older guy, he's maybe needs to, hey, you know what, coach, watch this real quick. Absolutely. He knows I trust him, and he knows that we have that relationship.
Yep.
We know each other. The first year guy might spend a little bit more time with.
Yeah.
You kind of know your room a little bit, right?
Yeah, you got to figure out your players.
Yeah. So it's again, it goes back to the why.
Yeah.
It always does.
It was always cool, like just obviously roaming around during a weightlifting session, watching you and everyone like communicate, because obviously it's not even like some kids you would pull in close and then you would talk to them like obviously over all the loud music. And then there were some kids like the seniors and stuff where it's like you don't need to coach technique at all with these guys at this point. If you haven't gotten through to them as the seniors, then I mean, not that it's past due, but it's just like they got it. It's more of a motivation at that issue. So like you get there and you're just screaming, going and getting them all hype up, and then it's crazy seeing guys like Kobe and Bernard just lifting just crazy weight and doing that.
You know, I think with those guys, you know, it's probably the things you don't really see. Like, I could be walking by and I'm like, hey, you know, Fianifia.
Yeah.
And they know what that means. It's okay, gotta get better leverage,
quick,
coach. And it's a quick coaching cue. It's not a coach like, hey, you know, Kobe would come up to me and was like, hey man, I need you to watch this. What do you see?
Mm-hmm.
You got it. I mean, just, you know, scoot your shoulder blades a little bit more. I mean, you got it. It's gonna be easy. Like, it shouldn't be hard for you. If you just do one little correction, all of a sudden he does it again. He's like, oh wow, yeah, dude. Like, it's the little things. You don't overcoach because that's in the earlier stages, right? You develop it, you coach it, and then all of a sudden you take out all the verbiage, and now it's right to the point. Quick coaching cue. They understand because they understand the language.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is when those guys are able to mentor
other people,
the younger guys.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, this is one of the things I learned when I was at a smaller school. When you're by yourself. In other places, you might be one coach. The coach-to-player ratio is out of the world at small schools because of financially you can't. So here you are. You might be at a place, and you know it's one coach, and you might be the only coach in the room, and you have 40 guys in the room, and it could be right. Yeah. So imagine now if you can develop 10 other coaches.
Yeah.
Right. So all of a sudden now you have 11 coaches. Now how was to say those coaches are just the players on the team?
Exactly.
And that's part of the growth because now they're in it.
Yep.
They're a part of it. They're mentoring. They're giving back. They're pulling guys in. Hey, man, you got to fix this. Or, hey, you need to lift for me. Come to my rack. We got to get... And all of a sudden, you got this thing rolling where you might be down a coach or so, but you got 10, 11 other coaches on the floor. And with those guys might be, you know, quick coaching cues. The younger guy, he's never really been exposed to the stimulus. Mm-hmm. So we're telling him, hey, we're teaching him how his approach to the bar has to be like how he needs to walk into the weight room. Hey, there's a physical maturity and there's a trained maturity, and the physical maturation is going to happen organically. Like the kid's going to come in, and it's not because of me. It's just because of time.
How it works.
Time. It's because of time spent in the weight room. It's time doing a new stimulus, and it's repeats over time. I mean, those kids are going to develop right for only so long, but for a 17, 18-year-old, it's going to happen really fast. For now, the other half of it is there's a mental maturity aspect, and this can kind of hold kids back.
Yep.
It's right your approach into the room, the fundamentals, the details, and that's something. Then when the older guys start to then realize, you know what, shoot, I need to do this on my lift, I need to do this in my warm up.
Yeah.
It clicks, and that's an aspect. And if those two things happen at the same time, that's true development, right? Yeah. So. It's every kid responds differently to the different coach, and that's our job to understand that. Like at the end of the season, when we start off season, we always sit down with our guys one-on-one. It's an opportunity for us to talk to them about goals, but also listen to them. What's going on in their lives right now, what's happening. But you also start to figure them out a little bit better, right? And you start to get a snapshot into who they are as people, and that's when you kind of figure out how to coach guys. Every guy's different. You know, I might speak to one guy might respond to a quick coaching cue, but I might have a senior that I need to poke every single day. Dude, let's go. Like, come on, you're looking great today, right? Hey, you got it, man. Let's kick some butt.
Yeah.
There might be some young guys that it's really okay. This guy gets it.
Gets it, yeah.
But I mean, you know, but every guy's there might be a guy that I might talk to a certain way that knows how to deal with it, and it doesn't affect him. Yeah. But I gotta be careful now because if I talk to another kid like that, he might shut down. Mm-hmm. And then guess what? No one wins. Yeah. So that's, you know, as we're talking about making mistakes in the career, like when I was a younger coach, it's like, you know, you're talking to this kid that way, but you're talking to every single kid the same exact way. Yeah. And then you have kids shut down on you, and it's just like, it's not the kid's fault. Yeah. It's your fault for not understanding
how to talk
and figure them out. Like that shit like goes back to why you got into this profession to help. Then figure this out. Hey, you read books. Hey, great. Then figure it out. Use it, right? So it's kind of like that self-reflection in the mirror. Like, okay, what do I need to do to be a better job as a coach? Right? How do I grow? But it really starts with having an open mindset, and it's being open to criticism. It's being open to change. And that's one of the things I learned in Iowa was you got to be open to get criticized. Yeah. And be a professional and go back to work. You can't let it affect you. You have a job to do. Yeah. And I think as younger coaches, right, those are one of the lessons, especially for our staff, we try to teach is
next thing.
Don't take criticism personal. It's not a personal attack. It's a way for us to get better. I might see something if you're on the floor. I'm going to tell you this. If you just correct this, it's probably going to help you. Mm-hmm. It's not knocking you, but you got to do a better job in it. Yeah. And you can really improve.
It's correction.
Yeah, and it goes a two-way street. I tell our staff, if I'm messing up at something, you let me know. Like that's what the trust is on the staff. So it's development, physically, mentally, but it's also as a coach. Every kid's different. Mm-hmm. You go to different places. You got to understand your room. The rooms are different. Yeah. Geography plays a role in that too. Yeah. If I'm on the East Coast, I'm in the upper, the New England area, they have a different kid than a kid that's living in Baltimore. Yeah. Versus a kid that lives in Florida versus a kid that's living in Michigan. Mm-hmm. So you also got to understand just different personalities. Yeah. And languages in different states, and because that's also going to help in coaching.
What were some kind of differences between coaching kids in Iowa and coaching kids in Michigan?
I would say this, not too much. Yeah. I would say more when I was at Delaware State. So when I left Iowa, I got the head position at Delaware State, and I was there for 3 years. It was completely different. Now I was at Iowa, 4.5, 5 years. You're in the Midwest. Certain type of personality, right? Yeah. It was like the state of Iowa, that farm mentality, right? Yep. Wake up, work until the job gets done, all that stuff. And then a transition into Delaware State. Different geography, different population, different kids. I'm originally from New York City, so a lot of those personalities I resonated with because I grew up with the same personalities. But in the coaching world, it's different now, right? Because now we're dealing with kids from New York City, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., some Florida kids, so it was crazy different. Yeah. And we're at Iowa, it was very like, toes on the line, you do it this way. When the next school we went to, I was like, all right, you better figure this out, dude, because they're not getting the toes on the line. So how are you going to reach them? And it was just because, now you're not an assistant. Now you're the head.
Yeah, now you got to take control.
Now you got to speak a different language. Now you got to understand these guys. You're not the same guys you had at that place, right? So it was different. That was a learning experience. It was figuring out our kids better. It was having more empathy. It was all those things. It was, what are you going to, as a coach, going to do to really help you make an impact on their lives? Yeah. And I tell you what, Delaware State taught me so much. I learned more from those guys than I think those guys could pick up from me. Because
just the players there?
The players, man. Just every day, just those relationships at Del State, I'm going to have for the rest of my life. Because those kids were, you saw those kids grow up, from freshmen to sophomores, juniors, and same thing with the Iowa guys. But at Delaware State, it's different now when you're the director and you're the head, and then you're really on the front line with these kids and them looking at you. And when you're an assistant, if you're having an off day, you got 3 or 4 other guys
to pick it up.
That pick it up. Yeah. When you're leading it, you ain't got that luxury. No. So every day it taught me you gotta be on.
Yeah.
Every moment, every day, like 365, day and night, because you might get that phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning you don't want to get, which I got, and it's like, so and so got an accident, whatever the case may be, and you don't. But that's life.
The life. Yeah.
It is, and it's about being there for the kids and helping them out. So, it's a guidance.
Yeah.
And those are the things I always say this to our younger people, right? Like, don't go chasing logos.
Yeah.
Right? Because if early in your career, if all you're aiming for is a logo, when adversity hits, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because if you're in it for the right reasons, you're going to have sustainability in this profession. But if you're in it for the wrong reasons and you're trying to do this, when adversity hits, it's an hit you. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So, it was an awesome experience.
Yeah. Awesome
experience.
So another thing I was talking about on the last podcast too was like cultures.
Yeah.
And like how they're created.
Yeah.
Or how they're. I said that they weren't even created, that like people just had to live them.
Yeah.
And then it was just like developed through that. But when it comes to like creating cultures here, like we used to do like the color code system.
Yeah.
We did stuff like that. We'd have other stuff that we'd print off and put on the racks and stuff. But like how much. Obviously, it means a lot, but like, how much do you pride yourself on what like you create as a culture? Like,
I don't think we really create anything.
Gotcha.
I think the players create
their own.
It's because in the day, culture is such a used term.
Yes.
In athletics.
Oh, for sure.
But it's really what the players want it to be. And culture goes. It's not just culture's not just a positive.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a bad culture, right?
Yeah.
You can have a culture which is, hey, we're not going to take anything seriously. We're not going to go to class. We're not going to perform at a high level.
Yep.
We're just here to
be here,
right? I mean, so coaches are really created within the locker room themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's our jobs, I think, number one, first and foremost, as a strength conditioning coach, right? The relationship that you have with your sport coach is instrumental. Because end of the day, one of our jobs is to reiterate the head coach's message and vision, right? Whatever team it is. And if let's say I'm working with, I don't know, like a little lacrosse team, which I did a year ago. What is their culture? I'm asking the head coach, what's your guys' culture? What do you preach? And it's my job to reiterate that and preach it in different manners. Yeah. So it's not just the same words being said, right? So just coming from a different angle. Yeah. And then the kids will gravitate. You're going to see this. You're going to see the things that stick with kids and the things that are not. And the part of, I want to say, because we're not creating it, but the part of being a parent, which to me was one of the biggest learning lessons in my life. Yeah. It's, you got to constantly say it again, repetition. Yeah. And just ingrain it. Because they might not show it to you then, but it's going to be a point when they just...
It clicks. Yeah.
Like, it's funny. What's pretty cool is you go around some of the older guys now on the team, and they kind of sound a little bit like us. Yep. What they're saying.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I guess they were listening.
Yep. Well, so, you say it enough, it's...
Right, so, and I think sometimes it goes, but that can be a good thing or bad thing. Yeah. Because it also makes us realize if I'm always negative, if I have bad body language, if I'm always negative towards the kid, one of the best quotes I ever heard was, be careful how you talk to kids. Because how you talk to kids when they're young will be their self-talk when they grow old. Mm-hmm. So if all we're doing with younger kids is being negative with them, hey, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, all of a sudden when they become older, their self-talk is very down on themselves. You're not good enough, you're not. But if it's a positive, hey, man, you got it, just got to get better, you got to keep working at it. Mm-hmm. It just helps with their self-talk. And 17, 18-year-old kids are the same way. Yeah. So it's building the self-confidence, right? How do you build self-confidence? We got to earn it. Yeah. Like, we're not giving out free confidence here. That's fake. That's fake confidence. Yeah. That's a lie. Well, I'm really good. No, you're not.
You haven't proved it.
At the end of the day, even if you have proved it, to the real competitors, they're never good enough. Yeah. They're always striving to be better. There's some insecurity there, right? Like, I need to get better. Like, I'm not that good. Those are the ones that just have this inherent drive and just relentless. They're on this pursuit, like they're on this path. Yeah. You don't know where the hell they're going, but all I know is they're going somewhere, right?
Somewhere, yeah.
Because they just have this unrelenting passion and ability to realize I'm not that good. I need to get better, right? When you hear like a Kobe Mamba mentality, and you hear about the Jordans, it's how do I evolve and get better? It's not SOS. That's what we strive our athletes to have. I think that's the culture we want to help elicit. It's like, hey, listen, you guys come in here, right? You know, high school, you guys were recruited, and everyone told you all the right things, and they told you they loved you, you're the right size. Well, newsflash, you ain't that good.
Yeah.
Okay? And
everyone is that good.
Everyone's good. Now, guess what? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What do you like? What kind of value are you going to have in this organization?
Yeah.
What do you want long term? And what you got to help with a lot of our young people is connect the dots, right? Understand about how everything affects something else. Habits is a huge thing. How to wake up, making your bed, how to go to sleep, how you present yourself, body language. Are you coming in there in a lift group, or you cross your arms, or you slouch, and you yawn, and like those little things all play an instrumental part of their development, right? It's can they look you in your eye? Do they walk in the room hunched over? Or they stand like, they standing tall. Yeah, that's all part of the culture. It's every single day. It's every single minute. It's
because it's contagious. If you're doing the positive things, everyone else is gonna do the positive things.
Yeah, and those things
it makes it easier.
And those things you talk about with the motivation stuff. I mean, motivation only gets you so far.
Yeah,
I don't look at it as motivation. I think we look at it as more reminders. Just remind them certain things. Yeah, the certain things we talk about, like we talk about the color code stuff, right? You talk about the code, but what that for them really is just their ability to tap into their emotion when they need to, and their ability to manage their emotions rather than their emotions controlling them, right? Yeah. So we talk about, hey, you're going into a game week. Don't play the game on a Monday or a Tuesday.
Play the game.
Play the game as play. Like control your emotions. Yeah. You can't be too high. Don't be too low. Be even. How do you go about with something happens on the field, something happens in life? You can go for adversity in life. What's going to happen? You're going to just get emotional and make mistakes. And some mistakes happen. Yeah. Or you're going to be in control. Yep. Think critically, and then act and respond. Yep. Right. So these are lessons that are not just pertaining to Saturdays. These are lessons that we want them to have for the rest of their lives. Yeah. Like in the why, right? We're trying to develop these young men and women to be parents, citizens in the community, get a damn degree for God's sakes. You have an obligation of a free degree. I mean, don't pay for anything. Yeah. You better maximize it. Yeah. And if you're here for like 5-6 years, you better get your master's. You better maximize this thing. And it's making them understand that, because what you don't want, and we tell them, like, the worst thing to have is regret. Yeah. Because you can't fix it. You can't fix that, because it's on you for the rest of your life, and you don't want to be that person. It's like, I wish I would have done this, or I could have done this. And you're living it for your kids because you couldn't do it, so then you want to put that weight on your kids' shoulders. That's unfair to them, right? Yeah. So we try to tell them, like, hey, listen, man, maximize yourself now. And everyone's different. Mm-hmm. Some it clicks. Some it doesn't. And some it doesn't. But if it at least gets, if you can at least get through to at least one of those guys in that room, then you did your job, I guess. But
it's cool seeing when it does click, though. Being in like in a high school setting, or I mean, you see it here too. But like, there's certain times when you just say like the quick cue for a squat, and then like it just all of a sudden, and it's not even like the seniors, it's like a younger kid. Yeah. And it's just like, oh wait, like that is exactly what you wanted, and it all just works out, and it was just the simplicity of it, rather than the sitting down and talking to kids over and over again.
Yeah, it's being, again, it's about, okay, we read, we understand science, you understand the anatomy, right? Mm-hmm. Now you got to take this information and you got to break it down into a language which they understand. Mm-hmm. And the cool thing is when they become older, they start to ask a little bit more questions. Mm-hmm. That's the cool part, right?
Yeah, when they start developing. Yeah.
Why are we really doing this? Like, oh man, okay, let's go. And now they're like, now it's dialogue. Yep. And all of a sudden, like, okay, that makes even more sense, right? Yeah. So it's the aha moment, and all of a sudden, because then those guys come in, they want to do extra, and then you watch them do extra work, and you see the extra stuff that they're doing.
It's the aha moment.
It's the aha moment. Then they're like, okay, these are things that are really helping them, right? Yep. Okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, like, because I need to do this, coach, because it's going to help me. Like, that makes perfect sense. Yes. Not just coming here and I want to do some put like no. It's like I need to focus on my post. I need to focus on my hips. I need to focus on my posterior chain. I need to hit some single leg work. Like that's like, all right, man, you're getting it. I gotta do some little things. Gotta do some more torso work. I need to help, not just crunches, dude. It's like, okay, I need to do some more, anti-rotational. It's like, okay, now they're talking to you.
Yeah.
And that's the cool part. And the thing about that too, Nate, it's that all takes one thing. It takes time.
Yep.
And I think we live in a day and an age where it's instant gratification model, where everyone wants things now.
Oh yeah.
We want to win now.
We want the information now. We want everything now. Yeah.
I want to be a 800-pound squat now. Like, listen, ain't gonna happen.
No.
But it's them understanding once you fully embrace the process.
It's easy. You know what to do.
It's once you understand that, we tell them like, you need to declare war on your process.
Yeah.
And what we mean by that is you are literally going to attack your day-to-day habits.
Yep.
With the utmost respect. Because once you can do that, you're on the true path
of what you want to do.
Ask every kid in the room, what do you want to do in 3 years? We'll play in the NFL. Okay, great. Let's dig into this.
How are you going to get there?
How are you going to get there, right? But guess what? Let's even talk about that because that's not even a reality for you.
Yeah.
Because guess what? You don't do this right. You need to make better decisions here. You're not maximize yourself in practice. You're not running full speed. You're just lying. So your goals and your actions are on two completely different wavelengths.
Yep.
So you're lying to yourself. Okay, you want to do it. All right. Now you're telling me how I need to coach you. And all of a sudden they're like, oh shoot.
Now I gotta get coached a lot harder.
Now they gotta be able to take. Now they're taking that criticism. Now they're like, okay, that makes sense. And but all of a sudden it gets to the point. Maybe some of them all of a sudden are like that aha moment, right? And all of a sudden you don't say anything anymore, and it just clicks.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden they're saying something to another guy. We don't do that here. We're like, oh wow, did that happen?
Yeah.
Right. So now it's like all of a sudden this language is very contagious.
Yeah. And
what we do is we monitor it. Right. Yep. Now we're helping it. We're helping nurture it. Where there's a great quote, not quote, but saying is death by inches.
Yeah. And
what that is, it's when you start to allow little things to happen and you put a blind eye to it.
Yeah.
You're slowly creating your demise. It's not going to happen now. It's going to probably happen 2 years from now.
Yep.
And we have to do a really good job of overseeing those things and reiterating to those guys, this can't happen. We can't tolerate this. Not here.
Not those habits.
Not like and it might come to a point then kids just understand that a little bit more better, right? And that's the journey. That's the process. But again, it all takes time. Yeah. And
it's crazy as a coach to say that like it takes time to have these aha moments. And as a young coach, you always think you can get those aha moments a little bit quicker.
Yep.
You can always think you can like teach those, and it's like you really can't, because if they're not going to get it, they're not going to get it until they have that moment. Yeah. And it's just that's one thing I've had over coaching is I would try to teach these kids like, well, one of the main things is I got out of high school and I was like, dang, like I could have done so much more. Yeah. And just like you said, regret sucks. And you try to teach kids that regret sucks when, I'm coaching them now and like, hey, like you did not work hard at practice today. And you didn't. But then they have that, they go on and do their other stuff. I had a kid I coached in basketball for my other internship. And he told me, he was like, we were at practice. He's like, I hope practice gets done early. I want to go golfing. Yeah. And I looked at him and I was like, dude, it's the last game of the season tomorrow and we're in playoffs. Yeah. And you're like supposed to be this team that's supposed to go far. Like, why are you even remotely thinking about golf right now while you're at practice? And it just, as me being me, it just did not click in my head how that could happen. But the reality is that other people obviously think differently. Yeah. And like you have to just understand that. But it's so hard as a coach seeing kids like that say those things. That's just like, dude, you got very few opportunities left.
Yeah.
Take advantage of them and do what you can. I don't know. Just being a coach in that sense, it's hard, but the kids that do get it, it's like, dang, like that was cool to see. Like that process was always always fun to watch.
Yeah, they still need nurturing too.
Yeah.
It's that can get you too sometimes, right? Like you just told us, oh, it's good now. You got to check up on it sometimes, which I think the more you do it, you kind of realize that they need it. Sometimes they need just an extra check on, something like that to help them out. I think reassurance. Reassurance. Sometimes I think you have to reassure those guys at times. You can't totally forget them because sometimes what happens is you're focusing so much on there's like your top tier, your middle tier, your bottom tier, right? Like you look at coaching, sometimes you're always focusing so much on the bottom tier because like
you want to
fix this, I gotta fix that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you forget about the better ones because they're doing it right. So you forget about those guys. And the middle pack, that's your biggest pack. And the thing with those guys is they can go either way.
Yeah.
And you cannot lose sight of that group because if your focus is always on the bottom half, the bottom tier, well, you're forgetting about the middle and top ones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the middle ones, if you're focusing on those, the bottom ones are usually going to have to move up too if the middle pack is moving up. Because the bottom pack's trying to suck people in.
Yeah.
Oh, man, today sucks. It's a long day today. Yeah, you're right, man. This is bad. I want to bring Nate down with me to my level.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the middle and you're in the bottom, or vice whatever it is, if we can change that language of the middle guy, now you come to me like, man, today's a long day. No, it's not. Let's just get after it.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh, shoot, I can't
I
depend
have to
on it.
rise
So
up,
they rise up, And then sometimes if you give out the top ones, they feel like, well, who's focusing on us sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But you can't forget them. So, that's one of the things you learn in coaching. Is you got the top, your middle, your bottom tier, and you got to kind of, and that just comes in knowing habits and
finding how you can work with one and to raise the others. No. So another thing, I remember we had a talk in here, and we did all about regressions and progressions of like stuff.
Yep.
Now, other than like exercise selection and just like in life, obviously.
Yep.
How do you use regressions and progressions, like just teaching, like in strength conditioning and stuff?
Yeah, it's one of the things when we talk to younger coaches. We talk about program design, for instance, right?
Yeah.
And people come in and in class they might be learning about periodization and you start to learn about program design, start for the CSCS, and the execs, they don't know, where do I go? Like, how do I start to write a program? And I might write a program for this team and that team. Like, well, let's go backwards. Who are you training?
Yep.
Training an athlete. I know this. If I'm new to whatever team I'm dealing with, they're new to my program.
Yep.
Right? They might have been doing someone else's program. That's great, but they're also now, this is new language. So there's an evaluation process, but there's also understanding that you got to watch them, see how they move, and see what type of physical and mental maturity they have. It's part of progression, right? When you talk about progressions, when you first deal with someone, whatever you do, there's levels, right? And there's levels in complexity. So what we try to teach interns and our staff when we talk about program development, it's understanding, okay, there are levels to training. Like for us, there might be a developmental one kid that walks in the door day 1, 17, 18 years old.
Yep.
And then they not to say they transform, but then they grow into another different program, right? So there's a different stage of development. And then there's another stage of development, right? So typically there could be 3 different or 4 different levels of development that these guys particularly have.
Yeah.
But within development, there's a different level of complexity within movements because there's different characteristics that they need within the complexity, right? So if I'm still developing with my torso strength, my posterior chain strength, there's probably some complex drills I can't really do too good of a job at because I might be very limited in my other areas of development.
Mm-hmm.
As a coach, you can't rush this process. Like development's going to take time, and you got to make sure you go for your checks and balances. Because every series, are they progressing? Excellent. Do they manage it through? Well done. They look great doing it. Great. Do they start to understand some physical maturation happening? Absolutely. Is there some mental maturation happening? Absolutely. Okay, let's progress. And the complexities change a little bit. The way you change will happen a little bit as well. So you have to have progressions to how you train.
Yep.
Not just in training modality. It could be in sets and reps and schemes. Periodization, the quote unquote periodization. Any kid can grow with any periodization, but it's understanding there's a need based on
Right.
my age.
Yep.
Okay, I can't do the same thing with a 21-year-old that I might have done for my 17 and 18-year-old.
Oh yeah.
Can't do that. Like, 17, 18-year-old linear periodization, I'm going to do 70, 75, 80, AP the next week, and they're going to get strong. I'm like, okay, great. Now, they've been on that program for a year and a half. The same results are not going to happen.
Yeah.
But then you start asking yourself, what am I chasing? Am I chasing numbers? Or am I chasing something else? Peak velocity.
Mm-hmm.
Right now the game's changing, right? Stability of movements. And so those are the progressions.
Yep.
But it's also understanding you have to have levels of regression. Because now, let's say you're on the next level, you work in the professional ranks. You walk into a room with, let's say, I'll use the NFL for example. You might have a room of 40 guys, and you're sitting there, and every guy comes from a different background, different colleges,
Yep.
different parts of their careers. You better have some regressions.
Yeah, because you don't know
come
what they've
down and
done.
figure out where guys are at. So you have to have an understanding of it. You have to have your model of it. How do we progress? How do we regress? Because that will help in the decisions that you make,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's not just based on, modality or exercise. There's different parameters that you look into it, right? The sets, the reps, the intensities,
Mm-hmm.
your volume. What do you expose those guys to? What level of training are they mature enough to handle? We had done I'll say like a block periodization scheme with our guys at a previous school that I was at Delaware State, and but it was very limited guys because we were with them for about 3-4 years, and but it took time for them to reach to that point where they could do something like that.
Yeah.
So it's different based on how long you've been somewhere.
Yep.
Are they used to it the way you train them? All of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, that is cool. No, it's just it was always the process of everything. It's just so hard to get people to understand.
Yeah.
And it just not even other people, but for myself to understand. It's just having that process and being able to stick to it long enough to see those goals actually come to fruition. It's a process. And when it came to me lifting, it would have been right before I got here.
Okay.
I actually started lifting consistently.
Yep.
And then I tell you what, I went from being 170 but pudgy to being 200 and actually lifting consistently, and just being able to see what people do here and seeing like you said, holding yourself accountable, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And okay, well, this is what this guy does here. I'm gonna go and do this because I want to look like that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, you get to that point. It's it's just hard to it's hard to push yourself through it when you're alone.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I also want to talk about too. Is how do you create the competition within yourself when you get older? You don't have in certain fields you do, but you don't have all these people always right next to you competing with you. In high school you got people you got sports. In college you got people in your class. Once you get to be an adult, there's a lot fewer people in your field right next to you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to have that goal, or that at least a little timeline in your head to say okay, well, if he got here in this amount of time, this is how long it should take me. And you obviously don't want to go fully through that route because everyone has their own path, but you can see you don't have that external motivation.
Yeah.
Obviously. So how do you get a internal motivation throughout anything you do? And like you said before, just being in at Queens, 365 days of the year you have to be on, you have to do your job, and you have to do your you have to be there for all these people.
Yeah.
How do you consistently do that for so long? What drives that? Or how do you, even when there isn't that drive, because obviously there has to be times where you're a little bit lower energy than others. Where do you get that extra energy from?
So that's a big one.
Yeah.
There's three questions in that, right?
Yeah.
I would say kind of go back originally. You said the word external versus maybe internal.
Yeah.
And
motivate. Or not motivation, but just drive.
And the external versus internal. What you have happen a lot is when individuals stop playing in college athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them might go into their, full-time jobs and professions and all that. And others, it's just like, dang, I miss it so much, right? It's everything. It's the team aspect.
Yeah.
And that's what we tell individuals, like, you got to maximize your time because there's going to be a time you're not going to have this team camaraderie. There's nothing better than athletics in terms of a team setting and being a team player and the culture, all that. But with that being said, exactly what you said, there's external and internal, right? External are what's our external motivation? It's money.
Yeah.
It's fame. It's
Yep.
all that, right? It's external. It doesn't do anything. It can come and go any moment.
Yep.
So if I take money away, are you still motivated to do your job, right? But
Yep.
that's what we talk about chase the logo theory.
Yeah.
The internal is different. The internal is what you need to get. As coaches, we need to create that awareness of it.
Yep.
You would hope when you talk in the recruiting process, you're bringing in competitive individuals. Well, what's competitiveness? Well, something's an internal drive. So typically, your competitive individuals, your most competitive ones, there's an inherent internal drive in them.
Yep.
And then you really ask those guys questions. They have an understanding of their whys, right? They're able to connect the dots a little bit. Where I think the ones that looking from an external point of view haven't really addressed their whys or the understanding of why they're doing this every single day.
Yep.
That's probably the first aspect of it is sitting down with them and helping them connect the dots. Like, we sit down with these guys one-on-one. It's not just a 5-minute, like, here's a questionnaire.
No,
it's listen, like, let's talk. What's going on? And it's us, like, literally drawing out a map and us connecting dots and then listening to them and then us saying what they just said and then saying, okay, did you hear what you just said?
Yeah.
You said that the most motivating person in your life is your mother. Okay, it's great. But you don't want to go to school.
What's your mother want you to do?
Yeah,
Probably
why?
go
Like,
to school.
Yeah, so like, don't you want to make your mom proud, right? So you got to start connecting dots, and then kids will start saying, it makes sense."
Yeah.
And then their whys start not to shape, but they just start to kind of come about, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, all right, it starts to make a little bit more sense. So there's a why component there,
Yep.
and remember, every kid comes from a different background. And some, you got some individuals that might have come from a really tough upbringing that have had to work for everything. And those individuals are just inherently driven because they've had to do it themselves. They understand their whys, right? You might have someone totally different background, had everything, and it's really, someone's done it for them their entire lives. Never had to do anything. And they need a kick in the butt. So I think to answer the first two questions, that's probably it for us. It's understanding their whys, talking to them. I can't force a kid to move away faster. Can't do that. I can't force a kid to go to class.
Yeah. What
we can do is give them the tools, make them understand the power of them having control of their own lives. See, one of the biggest things we talk to these kids about is having complete ownership in your life. And one of the books you might have read here was Extreme Ownership, right?
Yeah.
And Jocko Willink, great book.
Yeah.
But when you really delve into stuff, it's when someone can take full ownership of what happens to themselves and the decisions that they make, they fully have the power of their lives. Because what you hate to hear is, well, this happened because of this. It's the excuses.
Yeah.
And once they start to understand, no, that's my fault. If I would have done this, I would never allow that to happen.
Yep.
And for me as a young coach, that was one of the biggest learning lessons for me coming up, was stop making excuses and start taking ownership. If you don't like how something's going on, you better find a way to fix it because it's on you. So those are the things that we try to help with these guys, and learn. Me personally, I mean, the drive. First, I love what I do. Okay, I mean, it's something that I'm doing what I love every single day. I don't work. I wake up and I just come to a place where I get to work with kids. I enjoy being around the kids. I enjoy, watch them. I enjoy seeing them learn and grow and make mistakes and then correct it. And that's why I got in the profession. I don't work a day. So for me, I say 365, but it's like clockwork, right?
Yeah.
But there's also a balance between that and my family, right?
Yep.
I love being a father. I have 3 kids, and I love being in their life and shaping life. So that this has to strike a balance. How do I do that? I think it's by having a balance.
Yeah.
Is when you're in the building, you're in the building. It's about the kids. Like when I walk into this facility, anything outside of this building is on, off. It's about these guys,
Yep.
these kids. When I leave here, then I put my attention on what needs to be focused on.
Yep.
So when I walk home, I don't talk work. I don't deal with work. When I walk to the home, I focus on my kids. Like that's what the focus is.
Yep.
So it's having a balance, right? And it's not carrying stuff into a different house.
It's being present where you're at.
Keeping
right
your
then.
head where your feet's at.
Yeah.
And with me personally, I love what I do. And I think for me personally, like my background, single mom, worked her tail off. Was just me and her, and I watched her every single day have a job that she hated, but she did it because they had to pay the bills and keep a roof over her head. And that was my example coming up. Mm-hmm. So now as a father, as a male figure, as a male presence in my household, and watching what my mother did, I'm like, yeah, you better go out there and provide. You better go out there and show your kids what it is to be dependable, accountability, do those things, right?
Yeah.
So you have to strike a balance. You have to understand the whys that you're doing something. I personally, lifting for me, I want to say saved me. That was my release. That was my ability to, for an hour or 2 hours, just rip hell on whatever was in my path.
Yep.
And that for me, it's like, it's a release. So training to me is more than just, picking up a weight. It does something to me physically, mentally, spiritually. It does something to me, right? And that's why I love the weight room so much.
Because you can do it for other people.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, a 45-pound bar is a 45-pound bar to you and me.
Yep.
Simple as that. There is doesn't matter if you're 5'10", if he's 6'3", 5-star, 0-star, born in the suburbs, born in the middle of the hood. No one gives a shit.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon my English. All that matters is what's your level of respect for it.
Yep.
And how you're going to attack it. That's a problem. They'll solve it.
Yeah.
And now the other half of wanting to help others, well, shoot, I have an outlet to do it.
Yeah.
And now understanding what the value of this type of particular room can do. See, training forces us to face all the stuff we don't want to face.
Yep.
It forces us to look at our vices. It forces us to look at our the downside about us, what we want to change, what's screwed up. Like it forces us to realize, man, I'm not that strong, or I'm not that fast, or I'm not that big, or whatever it is, and it forces you. Well, you want to change it. You can change it.
Yeah.
You can literally, you can transform yourself just by pushing yourself to another level. Because all of a sudden, when you start going to that point, to that place,
to the edge,
right?
Yeah.
That's development, right?
Yeah.
Then there's in between your ears. Now it's the self-talk.
Yeah.
How are you talking to yourself? Now that's a place where a lot of kids don't want to go to.
Yep.
Right? Because now when they go there, they have to face that side of them that
may not be this. It may not be saying the stuff you want it to say.
Yeah. Right now it's like, geez, man, I can't do this.
Yeah.
The self-doubt.
I'm not ready.
You know why? Because they understand they've been lying to themselves up to this point.
Yeah.
See, you can lie to others, but you can't lie to yourself. Mm-hmm. And we all do it at some point in our lives. Like there's times I've trained and I'm like, geez, man, I'm out of shape. Oh, damn it, Joel. Why are you out of shape?
Yeah.
Why? You did it to yourself. Whose fault is it? It's yours. And shut up. Okay, yeah, that, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of these kids, they start to realize, oh, man, maybe I would have taken my sleep more important. Maybe if I would have taken my nutrition more seriously. Maybe if I would have done something during the break. Maybe and all of a sudden, that's part of coaching.
Yeah.
Is you take them to that edge. And part of development we talk about is trust. See, trust is huge because if a kid doesn't trust me, they're not going to get to that edge.
Yeah.
But if there's some trust, then they're going to be all right, I trust him.
So in the weight room setting, you're saying they trust you enough to push them to their edge. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And it's like, listen, It's the, can I do this? Like, yeah, you can do it. We're never going to give you something that you can't do.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the trust.
It's the trust.
Yeah.
It's some understanding that, like, hey, Jay, get to that cliff. Okay, now jump. Just jump. You'll be okay. And it's them understanding that, okay, but what you're helping them realize is you've been built for this. Like, you've had, like, listen, you've done certain things. Even though you might be short in a lot of areas, you got a decent foundation.
Yep.
But now you got, if you're not happy with it, you have a foundation. Everyone's foundation might be a little bit different. Some more sturdy than others. So you got to kind of then start to realize where you at.
Yep.
And that's part of training, is understanding your people. It's understanding your kids.
Yep.
It's understanding the things that they like. We kind of went back to is the self-talk thing.
Yeah, I like the self-talk.
How the kids and it's, but again, if I'm a coach and I constantly harp on the negative.
Yeah.
That sucks. You were bad. That's wrong.
That's all they're going to think.
That's all they're going to hear. And it's like, okay, we know, you know this, right? They come in today for a workout and it's, week, 6 of the off season, and it's a day today. Like, it's at that point. Like, wow, man, we're going to hit, 90%, for a double or something, let's say that hypothetically.
Yep.
And they might see a weight in their car they've never seen before, right? And it's like, oh, man, the nerves, right? The butterflies in the stomach. And okay, training is about to start because now they're actually training.
Yeah.
And now it's you got this. You can do it. Hell yeah, let's go. Just fix this up. You like the compliment sandwich, a positive, a criticism, and a positive.
Yep.
Hey, man, okay, I know that his left heel came off the floor a little bit. Hey, man, that was great depth. Just get your left heel down a little bit by correcting this. Push that left knee out. Get your butt back a little bit more. But I'm telling you right now, man, that was great speed on the way up.
Yep.
A positive. He's listening or she's listening.
Yep.
Give him the correction. Okay, I'm open to it. Finish with positive, right? Yep. So those are the things that are going to help in those times of deal. But it's also creating an atmosphere where, again, competitive guys. If I'm not that internally motivated, if I look to my rack to my left and I see that guy hitting a weight and they do it, I'm like, he did it.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, with those workouts, it's usually the first guy that gets to it is usually the biggest indicator because that person's setting the tone.
Yeah.
And if they see that guy crush it, that gal crush it,
next guy's
like, you know what? Hell yeah. She can do it, I'm going to do it too.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, catch like, wow. And now if all of a sudden it's just, let's go. And all of a sudden that creates an unbelievable energy. But if from the person that's not getting it, and then you look at them like, why aren't you getting it? They don't have an excuse. Because everyone else in the room was able
figure
to
it out
mentally, or it might have been physically, they might be able to do it.
Yeah.
But mentally, they weren't able to transcend to that next point.
Yeah.
And that's the progression to mental maturity.
Yep.
So you see the kid that comes in, right? Who's a really well-rounded kid in terms of, wow, man, athletic, really athletic, just picks things up, strong. Let's see the 600-pound squatter. Oh, that's great. You come in, he's squatting 6 bills. Man, he's awesome. Whoa. Has he really trained yet? He's probably been training for a little bit, right? He's strong. Has he really been training? Because you might have had that person that's been training for 5-6 years and they got to 600. They are that person. They are going to be trained. Yeah. They work. They understand training. That young kid that walks in the door, genetically, there's probably some great genetics that play a huge part in that.
Yeah.
Maybe some decent coaching and picked up on it really fast. Maybe you have rare kids like that.
Yeah.
And I say 600, but it could be whatever it could be. But then when you start really pushing the needle, then you start seeing breaks. Because now then the training really starts.
Yeah.
And they realize, wait a second, I'm not as strong as I possibly could be for me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, their progression starts to hit. And that's what training starts to happen. There's a difference because now what you start to understand is my technique. Now, the part of maturity is the unrelenting appreciation for the fundamentals and technique.
Yeah.
Younger kids train, they just do it, right? It's like, okay. But all of a sudden, right, they just do it because they're growing. All of a sudden, they get to that point where, it's not going up anymore. Why not? Well, let's walk through. Look at your technique.
Yep.
Now it's what? Technical efficiency, proficiency. All of a sudden now they just, okay, now they have these things to fix.
Yep.
So that's what we say, the chase numbers game. Why are you chasing numbers? Like, because now if I'm an older guy, I've been training your program for 4 or 5 years, you know, a 10-pound bump for me is huge.
Yeah.
Compared to when I was 17 years old, 10-pound bump is nothing.
Yeah.
But now there's such a higher appreciation for that 10-pound bump because it's huge.
Because
right?
you had to work so much harder to get to it.
But again, that's one aspect of it.
Yep.
Now we're not going to live and die in just getting that quality. Like strong, you're strong. There's other qualities that we need to elicit.
Work on, yeah.
Yes, right. So that's part of progressions.
Yeah.
That's part of development. That's part of training. That's part of everything. So, but when your kids can understand those attributes, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you want to work up towards. That's training.
It's cool when, as you grow, and I've used this example more in skills in sport, but your example in technique and like lifting works just as well. But like when you're like, I used it with a basketball trainer on a podcast, but when you're shooting and you miss, if you can't tell exactly what little movement you did to miss, then you're not paying attention enough to what you're doing.
Yep.
So then just like lifting, you're squatting and you miss a squat and you don't know why you missed it, well, you're not paying attention enough to how you're doing the movement, because you should clearly, like, there's telltale signs that when you mess up, there's a reason you're messing up.
You know, the thing too is like that's one example, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, with the skill of a basketball shooter. The other thing's like it's the habits. So we weigh in kids every single week, like the body weights, right? We want to make sure they're on their path to their goal weight, or stay on their goal weight. We get to a point where the kids walk into the building and say, I'm light today.
They already know.
They know, right?
Yeah.
It's an awareness. Where the young kids are like, oh, I don't know, coach. I don't know. Like, I look at a kid today. I'm like, how much did you weigh? I weighed this today, coach. I haven't tell him to weigh in. He weighed himself. We didn't weigh. It wasn't a weigh-in day.
Yeah.
But they're proactive.
Yep.
They want to know where they're at. They stay on top of it. They understand the body weight. They understand it's post-practice, what I need to do. Yep. Coach, man, I was down like 5 pounds post-practice. I'm already on top of it. I got my Gatorade. I got my extra, protein bag. I got some extra stuff. I'm that, right? It's like, okay, they get it. Hey, coach, can I get some casein powder at the back end today? I want to make sure when I come home. Absolutely. They're talking that language. It's powerful. And that's what you want to get kids to understand. Yeah. Right? It's creating self-awareness, but you want to help create an atmosphere where you're allowing individuals to gain intrinsic motivation. Yep. And it's about the why. It's about them understanding. It's about explaining to them, but also allowing them opportunities to grow and make mistakes. Yep. But then when they make a mistake, you correct it right there. And then you fix it. It's all right. Now let's go. Do it again. Let's go. Yep. That's education. So those are the atmospheres we want to create. What we tell these guys, we want to create an atmosphere where we walked into a weight room. Okay, you guys are in there. We passed out your cards and we walked out the door. Yeah. That's the atmosphere you want to create, where then we have trust in you guys, and that's not going to happen. But but our guys on the team say, all right, this is how we're going to do it, guys. We got to do this. Explain, and they're just hitting it and rolling. You watch them get after it, and they're like totally on top of it, bringing everything together. Great. That's hell yeah. That's what you dream of, right? But that's what we reinforce them. Like that's the atmosphere we want to build. Yeah. Where you don't even notice us. Yeah. Because you guys are regulating. And you guys know what you're doing. When you're coaching the guys, and it's language, communicating. It's holding guys accountable. It's forcing the tempo. It's being positive one up. Let's go. You can do like that is. Yeah. So you know that's what culture is. We're just helping manifest. We're just helping nurture it. Yeah. It's the vision of the head football coach or the head lacrosse coach, whoever coach it is. You're helping reiterate the message. But at the end of the day, those kids in that locker room have to have an understanding of what they want. And then they got to figure out, okay, this is what we want. Well, what do we need to do in order to achieve those things? Well, we got to do these things. And then we got to be on it every single day. So if we're not on it, well, that's death by inches. And then we're slowly dying. Yeah. We get further away from what our goals are. And then guess what? We never achieve what we want to achieve because we haven't been doing the work. We can all work hard. Doesn't mean you're entitled to anything. Yeah. You got to pay the price every single day. Every day, yeah. And all you're working for is an opportunity just to go out there and just go to work and show what you've been doing. Like, college football season started.
Yep.
Every team's been working out for 8 months. Every kid went for a camp. That's awesome. Last year was so different. But this year everyone has an equal playing ground. At the end of the day, you just got to go out there and have belief in yourself, right? But a level of true confidence, you know? So, and we actually were going back to the beginning with the culture piece, you know. I think that's what we feel culture is about, you know. And in culture, again, culture can be a negative or a negative or positive.
Yeah, it's just how you arrange it.
How you arrange it and what you're allowing and tolerating.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the first things that you said when I got here for the internship is like, we're not going to tolerate anything. We're just going to get our stuff done and we're going to do it. And I was like, well, it's good going to a workplace and understanding like, and it's not even that you go to a workplace thinking you can take advantage of it, but like the instant people do let you take advantage of things, it's just human nature to allow that.
Yeah.
And it's not the way it should be, but if you set the tone right off the gate and don't allow anything ever, then that consistency is so much easier. Because then I know what to expect, you know what to expect, we all know what to expect, so then it just gets done.
Yeah.
So then there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Those expectations, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the things we ask every intern is, you know, we had an intern meeting yesterday, and we went over a presentation. We talked about, you know, what our values are, what our virtues are in the program, values, what you believe in, virtues is action, how you go about it. And one of the last questions we asked was, what are your expectations of us as a staff from this experience? And they all tell us that their expectations. And like, okay, great. Well, these are expectations for you guys. So now we're both on the same page.
Yep.
Now let's go to work.
Yep.
So now it's out there. So no one can say, well, I was expecting this. No, you said it. Now we're going to live it. Like, hey, you said that you want to learn and grow. And all right, then be prepared to go in here and grow. And it's not going to be comfortable.
No.
I mean, we're going to put you in uncomfortable scenarios. We're going to force you to learn stuff and be able to teach it. And then you might have to teach it to us in a manner which is like, music's playing, you're in front of a group, like you're in, that's what you're going to learn, because now we told other interns, like, when you leave here, we want you to have the tools to be confident to go into any unperfect scenario and to be able to be a professional at a high level and do your job.
Yeah.
We had an intern for us last spring, and he had a GA position, and they had like a change at with their upper management, with the department stuff, and now he was like running like 16 teams by himself, and it's like, that's awesome. Yeah. Now you're learning. Yeah. Like, that's true education. Like, you learn in the classroom, you learn that stuff, you're certified, that's excellent. This is where your real education starts. And
doing it, yeah.
Doing it. You're going to get to multitask 16, 17 different teams. And then you got to speak 16, 17 different languages. You got to understand these kids. You got to be able to coach and multitask, run around and hustle. Yeah. And then you figure out whether or not I want to do this.
Yeah.
Because now, if you're really invested, then you're going to be making some really good decisions that are going to help you in your life.
Yep.
You know, so we tell our staff too, like, you know, we're fortunate to have, 5 full-time, we have some really great interns, we have nutrition help, we have a really full staff, but we tell our people, like, don't get comfortable and just, you have 5 people and maybe 6, no, like, be prepared to work your tail off, be prepared to hustle around, because that next step for you might be one of 2 coaches.
Yeah.
You better figure it out.
Yeah.
So.
And it's cool that you guys have had that experience of actually being that coach alone in the situation, rather than always being the coach that, like, kind of has the luxury of all the people.
Yeah.
This stage in your career hasn't been the norm.
No, but I would say, my experience has helped me for this.
Yeah. No.
Position, right?
Exactly.
It's like, Queens helped me for Springfield helped me for Iowa helped me for Del State State's helped me for here, and you start to really pick up on that. I worked first semester, when I was in Springfield, first semester I volunteered at a high school. So you want to get into coaching, coach at a high school, because that's a true education, and to be able to wrangle up 14 to 17-year-olds, and they have zero understanding of how to move, and and then you got to be able to coach that. So it's I've been really fortunate enough to have experiences. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things that I have probably the most appreciation of, is being put in different scenarios and forced to speak different dialects and languages with different kids, different backgrounds and different geographies, because it just helps with in the future, you start seeing things where you can pull back on your past experiences.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you deal with that particular kid? Well, maybe you had that kid like that back then.
How did that work?
Yeah, you know, little things like that. So experience is huge, you know, when it comes into true growth, you know. You're still growing. Like, still like, you know, we're close. You're always open to change.
Yeah. So, like, in the process of always growing, and like you said, even now you're, like, still trying to learn. You're still adapting. Like, what do you do on a monthly or so basis, like, to just grow for yourself? Like, what do you do?
We do professional. So one of the big things is the staff. We do professional development. You know, COVID was interesting. Typically, what we do typically as a staff would be, you know, going out and visiting staffs, like visiting different people. You have your conferences, which are great, but actually going to a school, watching another team train, watching other coaches coach, are huge. You know, just to get a snapshot of different ways of doing things, different ways to skin a cat. So we did that, right? And then you sit there and you realize COVID hit and you couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So
you had to figure out something new.
It's in like last year, everyone was Zooming everyone, right? And we did that and it was awesome for us. But you can only do so much on Zoom. You know, as a staff, what we love to do is do professional development. You know, reading articles, you know, books together. But it's not just, you know, reading a book or watching a video. It's actually being in a room and listening to different ideas.
Yeah.
That's the true development. Development is, you know, you read this one book and you got 5 different people looking at it, or 8, whatever the hell it is. You have 8 different points of view on it because of 8 different experiences.
Yep.
And then being open-minded to their reasoning.
Yeah.
And that's the true development. It's listening. It's doing maybe maybe a presentation that, you know, a topic that you might not know much about, and doing homework on, and then presenting to the staff. That's development. You know, speaking to a different class or different population and doing a presentation. Those are the things that help. So I think for us, professional development, you know, I use it as well. Man, being a parent teaches you so much also every day.
Yeah.
You know, I probably really my viewpoint on coaching changed a lot when I had kids.
Yeah.
It's my vision changed because of it. Because now I see my kids. It's more realistic now. I see my kids and the kids we work with. So I'm probably even more demanding than I used to be, just because it's like you want them to be successful, right? And now it's like, listen, man, you're so close, but you got to do these things this way.
Yeah.
There's that demand, but it's them understanding why we're demanding and understanding where it's coming from. It's coming out of love. It's coming because we want you to be successful, so you can have everything you want in the world. But understanding ain't nothing for free. It comes at a price.
Yeah.
You know, so but those are the things, you know, we do. I'm learning from these guys every single day. Like listening to their experiences, their philosophies, you know, in life. You know, those are the things that help me grow as a coach, even more so. But
I think that helped you grow as a person, if anything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what's nice. That's what one of the main reasons I like doing the podcast too, is just to talk to people and like the experience. When you so obviously, like, I plan to have kids too eventually.
Yeah.
Well, how do you there's obviously the way you see like a coach's kid.
Yeah.
And being a coach, you understand that. But like I don't know how old your kids are, but have you coached your kids in any?
I try to stay. So they're doing flag football right now.
Gotcha.
So I don't go out there. I watch them.
But you don't go out. Yeah.
No,
okay.
I don't hate because they have a coach.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're listening to your coach, and you listen to you. When you're out there, you listen to one person. You listen to your coach. You listen to that person. Don't worry about me. And I'm not there to coach. I'm there to support them.
Yep.
Like, I'm support system. I'm dad. Like, I'm not in coach mode right now.
I'm positive.
I'm dad
That's
mode.
it. Yeah.
Okay, man. Like, you an example. Our kids had their first flag football game last week, which is awesome. It was fun.
Yeah.
Funny as hell. It was awesome to watch. And both my boys are the same team. My oldest is 6, and my youngest is 4. And the 6-year-old, you know, he's about to turn 7, and he's like listening. He's like, you know, he's just all into it. The youngest one's like, he's looking at me. I'm like, hey, doing a great job. He's like, oh, you're a banana, Dad. I'm like, oh, what the hell's like? He's just like, it's so funny, right? But then, you know, he gets the ball and he just starts crying. I'm like, oh, geez. So I run out there and pick him up. I'm like, all right, it's okay, dude. It's all right, man. And so you're in dad mode, right? Like, hey, man, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. So it's understanding that we preach to our kids, like, as long as you have fun, you work your tail off, you're a great teammate, you listen to coaches, and you do everything
Good.
100%.
Yeah.
You're fine, dude. Just go after and have fun doing it. And at that age,
That's all you
kids,
need.
right? It's all they need is reassurance. They just need positiveness, they need
Mm-hmm.
confidence. You know, my son might say, "Hey, Dad, this." I say, "Oh, you do this. That's all you guys do." "Oh, okay, that makes sense."
Yeah.
What did your coach say? Coach says, then do what your coach says.
Yep.
You know, and that's part of them listening. That's part of them taking authority.
Yep.
Right? What you're teaching them is understanding authority. It's understanding about how to listen. It's about them giving great effort, being a great teammate,
Yep.
and just doing whatever they do. That's life. That's
Mm-hmm.
doing whatever you want to do at 100 miles an hour and just being consistent with it every single day.
Yeah.
That's the urgency. That's the passion. That's all of it, right? So.
Yeah, I think it's good too when the dad or the parents say, "Listen to the coach," because you have so many parents that are just like, "Listen to me,"
Yeah.
and it's just like,
I
I used to
see
umpire Little League baseball right when I got out of Little League. I was like, well, I'm quitting baseball because I got to the big field.
Yeah.
Once I got to big field, I couldn't throw down to second anymore. I was too little. So I was like, well, I'll just go back and ump and make some money. But just dealing with parents,
Yeah.
it was just like, holy smokes, like these kids are in Beaverton and you guys think they're MLB players.
Yeah.
And they're like trying to get me to paint corners. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this kid at the ninth of the batting order in the regular like town league, this kid can't hit a ball off a tee.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call a strike on the corner for you just because your son's trying to play in that a bit. Like, I don't know. And just like you said, the self-talk, these parents are teaching these kids to, well, self-talk and to talk to authority. But they're like, well, why aren't you doing this right? Or like, why aren't you calling the strikes? Why aren't you doing this? It's like, no, why aren't you throwing strikes? Like, why aren't you making the play at first? Like, and I don't know. You get parents that just overcoach.
One of the things, especially when you get kids at this level and they can come older, like,
Yeah.
and it's always like even for our kids, like what you like try to do is tell them like, hey, you know, you're not good because you're good. You're talented. You're good because you worked at it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna congratulate, just like these kids here. They might be athletically talented as hell, man. They can make that move. They can make that cut, man. They got that touchdown.
Yep.
Hey, man, that was a great job running hard. That was a great job blocking. That was a great job of you listening, running your route, and doing your job out there.
Yep.
Great job. You know, I'm not going to congratulate you on your God-given ability and speed.
Yeah.
And congratulate you on
doing the little things.
The things that built you up for that moment. Like,
Yeah.
those are things, because then all of a sudden, those guys understand, like, yeah, it was the work that I did rather than my talent. That you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So help them see it from that viewpoint rather than just my God-given
what
ability.
happened, yeah.
Oh man, you did a hell of a job of, you know, hey man, you're a freaking tackle, did a great job of blocking the son of a gun, man. I mean, freaking guard pulled. I mean, you had really great vision, man.
Yeah.
You were low, you bent, you were sinking, you were pushing. You did a great job of doing your job out there, doing what you were coached. Awesome job.
Yeah.
Those things help, you know, because that, again, it's the language, it's the understanding of the whys.
Yep.
You know?
That transitions to doing
Yeah,
it
that's
again
coaching.
and again and again.
Because remember, everyone outside the building is going to say, hey man, you're so fast, you're so great.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let them stay focused on what got them to that moment and opportunity.
Yeah. Because everyone else looking on the outside in is just looking at the positives and, like, I guess what they did during the game. No one's looking at the training that went into getting to those points.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that they're like, I mean, everyone knows that these people like work hard to be in those positions, but do you really know what a college player does every day? Like, it's a crazy schedule. It's a crazy life that they have to do just to see this progression.
Now you're seeing a 17, 18-year-old that's never been, you know, there's a different standard to upheld to, right?
Yeah.
It's a 17, 18-year-old person, and now there's different types of pressure, and now they're looked at differently. And producing. Why are you not producing? It's a different. They're going for stuff now that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's where, and that starts in the recruiting process. In the recruiting process, you're very honest and very matter of fact to them about what the lifestyle is, because there's recruiting and then there's the real stuff, right? Recruiting is everyone tell you, you know, come here, we need you, but are they really telling you what you're going to walk into?
Yeah.
That's what your day is going to be. So how it's going to operate. This is what you got to do. And you need to understand that.
Yeah.
And again, the faster you get comfortable and being uncomfortable, then you're gonna have a better appreciation of what has to happen, or if you become truly successful.
Yeah.
But usually in the recruiting process, you can tell individuals that are in it just to get recruited, because recruiting is fun, right? It's fun to go to different places. People tell me how much they love me. I get all these letters. It's cool.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, things hit the fan, and all of a sudden, I'm not being recruited anymore. Now there's expectations. Whoa, wait a second.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared for this yet. Well, you need to be.
Yeah.
So some understanding, we always tell them, there's two things we're going to give you here. There's going to be expectations and belief. Well, expectations, we have expectations for you because we believe in you. And on top of that, we're going to believe enough in you so that you can reach those expectations.
Yep.
That's what the thing's about. So it's helping them give them those tools to be successful, to have that intrinsic motivation and drive to be successful. And those are what your best teams have.
Yeah. It's
the intrinsic motivation, it's drive, it's belief in one another, and things click. So, yeah, man, it's a series, man. It's a process.
So we'll wrap it up with one more last question.
Yeah.
But talking about success, how do you define success in your words? Just because this is a topic that everyone talks about, and it's just, it's a hard one, but
success is first off, there's different levels of success.
Okay.
Success is different for everyone else. Success for me and success for you are completely different. That means different levels to it. End of the day, success is really your happiness. To me, it's it's your level of happiness that you've been able to achieve, knowing that maybe luck played a role in it, but also understanding that you created that luck to happen.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's what success is.
Yeah.
It's knowing that I might have achieved something that I never thought was possible, or maybe done something that was always a goal of mine. But in order for those things to happen, there's little instances where luck has played a role.
Oh yeah.
And there's luck and there's cause and effect. And luck, people base their stuff on luck. They're not lucky. No, you've created your own luck. Yeah. That's cause and effect.
Yep.
I do this enough times, I start creating more opportunities for me to be lucky.
Yeah.
And once you can get that or achieve that, I think that's probably a level of success, for someone.
That's a good way to put it, though.
And I think but success can also blind you, because it depends on when you achieve success.
Yeah.
And I think success is as good of a word it is. It can be also a negative, because success can also lead to your ability to be stagnant and complacent. You hear people, my goal was to, get to the next level, get to the professional rank, whatever sport it is, and they get there and all of a sudden they just get really stagnant and they drop. Well, because their goal was just getting to that place. They didn't have a plan behind that.
Yeah.
So, when you look at success, it's not just a one road path. Success is the ability to really grow in ways that you've never really imagined as well, because that's the evolution. It's evolving.
Yeah.
You're
never done.
You're never done. That's different. No, that's a path.
Yeah.
Because that path requires a whole lot. It's not easy.
And it goes a lot longer.
So there's success, and there's probably true success.
Mm-hmm.
To probably define both of those. And true success is also predicated probably based on awareness. I think that's one of the things that you really want these young people to understand is awareness.
Yeah, where you fit in the whole scheme of things, wherever it is.
And sometimes the college kids, they just walk aimlessly through everything, right? Everything's for them. They see everything every day. They wake up, they go to class, they do this. But then having a level of awareness of what's really happening, what's really going on, knowing this is not the real world. School, you're going to be done, you're going to graduate, you got to pay bills, and then you are do you want a 9-to-5 job? What do you want?
There's so much more to it.
And, hey, I can be successful, that's awesome, but then true success is probably the awareness of understanding what needs to happen if I become successful, when I become successful.
Yeah.
That's the next path I need to be on.
That's
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I look at myself, and in my opinion, hey, you're successful because you did this. That's great, but is that good enough?
Yeah.
No, it's not. Right? Like, as a staff, are we okay with having decent success? Now, how do you define? Say, we actual staff. How do you define success as a staff? Okay, great. But what are we doing to push the envelope? How do you have? How do you have? See, the thing with success, it's not about achieving success. It's about sustaining it, right? Like
keeping it going.
Once
you're successful in one thing,
how can you
keep going?
Keep going, and that's the thing about true success is probably the awareness
to know that you're not going to achieve it, or to know that there's more to achieve.
The awareness of you have to sustain it.
Yeah.
And then what are the things that need to happen in order to do it? And that's probably true success. And those that's a path, man. That's a path, and that's everything. That's the little things. Like, you hear teams having success and then falls off. Well, there's a great book. I'm always talking about reading books, right? It's Good to Great by Jim Collins. If you have an opportunity to read it, I have it right here for you if you want to look at it. Good to Great by Jim Collins, and it talks about why some of the best why some organizations failed and other organizations succeeded. And great books at the time. Definitely highly recommend it. Gotcha. But just a snapshot into that, man. It's but it goes back into understanding. We talk about all those aspects. It goes back to the root of what drives you. What's your engine? What motivates Nate?
Yeah.
Hey Nate, great. What motivates you? What are you really good at? Like, what are you really good at? Okay. What's your selling point? And how do you focus on those aspects, right? Those are ways, and then you start to grow and understand about sustaining success.
Yeah. Because then once you reflect on it, you can figure out what you're not good at, and then grow upon that.
Yeah. So it's that's where you gotta every day it's about problem solving. No one likes problems. People like solutions. So don't be a person that constantly brings up all the bad stuff. Be a person that can actually create some solutions. And guess what? Now you increase your value in the room. Now people want to keep you around. They like you. You know why? Because here's Nate. He's a problem solver.
Yeah.
He has value. Yeah. He has value. Now he creates something into that workplace. People want to keep you. And then you're getting paid for it because guess what? You're problem solving. Yeah. Anyone can say, "Oh wow, man, what's wrong with A, B, and C, and D?"
Yeah. But how do you fix it?
How do you fix it? Right. So it's yeah, man.
It was fun. I'm glad we could do this.
Hell no, man. Anything for you, Doc. Whatever you do, man.
No,
awesome.
It'll drop here soon, hopefully.